Hola. This is gonna be my third time recording this, but hello. My name is Max, and I am a guy with lupus. I have recently been diagnosed with avascular necrosis, and I have possible rheumatoid arthritis. So, just to preface all of this, this is going to be about mainly what dead bones feel like. And if you don't know why I'm talking about this, then let me explain what avascular necrosis is. God dang, my my articulation is really bad. But avascular avascular necrosis is a condition where your bone is not receiving enough blood due to a circulation problem. For instance, if you were to put a splint, yeah, if you were to put a splint on a big gash or wound, you would just cup it right there and it cuts off the blood circulation. So basically, if I had to put it right here, then this all is not getting circulation. So it's like that, but for your bones specifically. It's like your veins and stuff like that are going through everywhere else except for your bones specifically. Because apparently, I didn't know it before I was diagnosed. Apparently, your bones have blood structure, veins, and stuff like that as well. So yeah, that's what avascular necrosis is, and I have it mainly in my right ankle. I have a variation of it in my left wrist. It's called King Buck syndrome, something like that. But basically, it's avascular necrosis along with fragments of bone inside of my wrist, mainly because if you look at the diagram of your wrist, there's a lot of individual bones, very small little individual bones all right here. And my necrosis has gotten it to the point where it's deteriorated to the point of parts of those bones kind of free floating inside my wrist. So with that handled, what does it feel like? Does it really hurt? What does a dead bone feel like? Well, if I were to give a reference of what my wrist feels like, if you were to take a piece of bone, like let's take this bone right here, right? You take this bone, you grabbed it, and you pinched it as hard as you can, as hard as you physically can. You feel that pain within your bone. It's like that, but times it by 2 or 3. And then on top of that, for my wrist specifically, since there's fragments, this is an example only if your body's physically able to feel this. But if you were to, you know, mess with your bone and you feel the back of your jaw kind of grind, it's like that. It's very, very similar to that. And if that doesn't really help, the gloves the doctors wear that are really stretchy, like the nylon ones, not the latex. If you were to put crushed ice, like from your fridge or something, and you put it in there, and you started messing with it like a stress ball, kind of. That's kind of how it feels. And then on top of that, you put the pain I was talking about. It's like that. That's kind of how it feels on my wrist specifically. And for my ankle, it's a very similar pain. Very similar pain. Very like when you sprain your ankle, like if you were doing a running sport specifically. If you were to twist your ankle or sprain your ankle, the feeling that you feel when you do that is like how my foot feels whenever I bear weight on it for any time more than maybe like 5 minutes. That's how it feels. Because let's say this is my foot. Imagine if this was straight up, because my wrist can't really move all that great in comparison to the 90-degree angle that a foot has. But let's say my foot like this. All right, a lot of the deterioration or the problems kind of are right at the ankle. So if this was my ankle and this was all the ankle, most of the pain is all right here. You can feel it all the way through, kind of like a push pop. Like if you were to get a push pop and you could push the paper part through with the push pop, that's how it feels, because obviously, bone's not sticking out, but that's how it feels. It feels like my bone is like literally forcing its way through my foot, and it feels like a sprain or a twisted ankle, but magnetize that pain. And that's how it feels on a consistent basis. I didn't really think much of it. I attributed like all that pain to like just working too hard, or working out too hard, or too high of weights in the gym. My activities, like I was skateboarding and stuff, I just thought that I was just too weak, and my joints were too weak. So I kept trying to strengthen them through different ways, and that didn't work. I just wanted to describe that so that people that have no clue how this would feel like at least kind of get an inkling, or at least a basic understanding of how it feels, because it's very hard to describe pain. Everyone's pain is different. Everyone's pain comes in shapes and sizes, and for me, a lot of my pain has been localized to that like specific spots, because my necrosis is developing in specific spots. A lot of people talk about how you can't really pinpoint pain, but sometimes, especially when you have this condition, I feel like you can, because every single time I've gone to the doctor and I've gotten my images looked at, a lot of the times where I'm just like, I can feel it right here, I see it, and it's literally exactly where I feel it. Exactly. If you're ever feeling like you're in constant pain and it's like that, like it's sprain pain, or pain that's like you just broke your arm again or something like that, it's not normal. And if you are feeling pain that is not brought on by anything and it seems like it's becoming normal, or like a consistent thing, please be wary. Make sure that you are taking the steps and precautions to make sure you are healthy, because I didn't. I very much so acted and presented it like a normal day to day occurrence, because I thought it was. Um, for a little backstory, my wrist was injured, I am almost 100% sure, when I was in high school. Right now I'm 23, so high school was a ways away. It's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'll say 6 years ago. But that was like 6 years ago that I had injured my wrist, and it had been a consistent issue of my wrist not really getting better, but not also getting worse, if that makes sense, because it only really got as bad as it did in recent years. So it wasn't that bad, but the more and more I did, like working, and the more I took care of my own house, because I started living on my own, and the more I started doing things, like actually doing things, is when I realized I kept re injuring my wrist, like over and over. Like I'll hit something, I'll bump into the wall, and it will restart that pain over again. I'll hit the wall, or I'll be playing an instrument and it hurts extremely bad. I never understood why that was until I stopped looking at it as normal. I was just like, bro, I don't know what it is, but this is hurting. This keeps hurting. And that was when one of my doctors actually started brainstorming on what it is, and he he said it might be what it was, but he wasn't sure because he had to do like testing and imaging and stuff like that. And he made that conclusion based on my past history of steroidal use that was given to me as treatment for my lupus. So I'm not just out here doing steroids. Nope. But from the time that I was diagnosed and I was like on a specific steroid for a long time, it did a lot of damage to my body that I didn't know until literally like last year. Um, so yeah, just don't keep thinking something is normal. If you feel pain on a regular basis, it shouldn't be normal. But get it checked out. Be aware of your body and yourself, and trust yourself. If you feel like something's wrong, don't let nobody tell you anything different. Because for years until I had that specific doctor, even though I hated this doctor for a very specific reason, um, it literally took that doctor specifically to be able to even think about the problem. Because I've had this wrist issue since I was working at Kroger in like 2020. I'll say two, three, something like that. Yeah, I'll say like 2022 ish or 2021. Um, but yeah, I've been having this issue ever since I started working. Like, mm, yeah, for the most part, I've had these issues ever since I started working, and no one really paid that much attention to the fact that I was struggling with it until that specific doctor. So, but yeah, that's how it feels like. If you enjoyed at least hearing about it, even if you aren't experiencing it, leave a like. And if you don't want to leave a like, it be what it be. You can comment your experience. I would love to hear it. And make sure if you truly think this will help somebody understand what you're going through, just send it to them. I would love to know that somebody has somewhat of an understanding of your situation. It just makes a person feel less lonely, if that makes sense. But yeah, hope your day is okay. I'm gonna try to make mine's good and stay for extra content. I'm gonna start going to the gym and working on what works for me in the sense of like what I can do to keep myself active while not necessarily overdoing myself and causing more harm to myself. So if you want to come with me on the journey of figuring that out, hopefully it will help you figure out your own accessibility in the gym as well, if that's what you're looking for. I would love to have you on that journey. That would be sick. But we'll see. Without further ado, adios.